Are we ready? Okay. Well, we're about ready. I don't want to shut this up. Okay. Well, we gather here this evening to honor Richard David Odle on his 50th birthday. Can you believe this? I mean, what did he ever do to deserve this? Oh, sure, he's lived 50 years, but lots of people live 50 years. You say he drives a big car. Al Capone drove a big car. And he's got 3 kids. But a Neanderthal man can have 3 kids. And you say he's well respected in his field. Well, Rodney Dangerfield is too respected in his field. Many famous people never got a roast. Idi Amin, who once said, "I never met a man I didn't want to roast," never got a roast. David Stockman, who recently said, "Gee, I can't figure it out. It was a great strategy when I played Monopoly just the other day," never got a roast. Yet today we raise Richard Odle above these people, above the crowd, and garnish him with our mock praise. But what did our dad do to deserve that? Well, he raised us, and that's quite a feat in itself. I remember Dad teaching us life as we grew. I wanted to be a professional baseball player when I was younger. He told me to forget about it because even the best ball players couldn't make any money. He told me the business to be in was a scrap business. Well, Dad was also always there to help us out. If we needed money, he'd always be the first to tell us to go get a job. And advice? Boy, was he full of it. Actually, he was good with me. Even when I asked tough questions, he had a good answer. With Debbie, I guess he had it a little harder. She didn't even really ask tough questions. She wants to ask him why they spell sex, S-E-X, and he says, "'Cause you can't spell." But overall, Dad was great. He'd tell us stories of his gold medal Olympic days in 1941, in the 41 Olympics, the days when he was the star center on the McKeesport High School basketball team. Well, we knew some of his stories weren't true, yet we still believed in him, and most of all, we respected him. Larry probably respected him the least, though. There was the one year when Dad bought us a BB gun for Hanukkah, and Larry bought him a T-shirt with a bullseye on the back. Larry was a tough kid. I guess we all were. But Dad was a disciplinarian, very tough, very strict. One day he caught Larry picking his nose, and he cut off Larry's nose. I guess you can see what that did. The next day, Larry hit Debbie, right in the arm, and he cut off Larry's hand. The very, very next day, he caught Larry in the bathroom with the Playboy magazine, and he cut off. I don't want to go any further, but now Dad's mad because he can't have so many grandchildren. I said, "Dad, what do you care how many grandchildren you have? You've raised 2 sons and a daughter. What do you need with grandchildren?" He told me he hopes he has a grandson so he can give him a bat and a ball and teach him how to be a professional baseball player. Seriously now, come on. Rick is well-liked, and he has so many friends that we couldn't be real selective tonight, so that's why we invited 750 of his closest friends tonight. So to you 70 people, we thank you out of the bottom of our hearts for tearing yourselves away from the Incredible Hulk tonight on TV. We know it was a great sacrifice. And remember, although you've had your free meal and booze, you have to stay the remainder of the evening to collect your $20. What you're about to see is a day in the life of Rick Odle. Businessman, expert gambler and stock investor, proud father, not to mention bathing beauty, and professional golfer. Well, we had a little trouble getting a picture of his swing. He wouldn't let anyone come within about a mile of him with the camera. So his patented swing, your patent's still safe, Dad. So, well, now it's time to start a typical day in the life of Rick Odle. The telephone rings. 7 o'clock, the alarm goes off. After a quick stop in the John, it's time to watch, in his words, that girl with the fantastic figure do all those exercises for so long that he can't do. The only exercise received here is for his eyes and possibly for his heart. At any rate, it's a good way to get the juices flowing in the morning, right then? Then comes Good Morning America, and the volume on the TV goes way, way up. And soon everyone in the house is up. Then it's a quick piece of toast, a fast shower, shave, and then he gets dressed. Then it's off to the office. On his way out of the apartment, he stops and he realizes the most important task of the day. Shit, I forgot to squeegee the mirrors in the bathroom. Now, just slightly off schedule, he goes to make his 4-minute, 48-second drive to work. Now Rick likes his cars. Throughout his life, he has always been proud of his wheels. This is his first. His second. Sometimes now, Rick owns more than one car at a time, and he's got more than one set of identical keys. On top of that, in a hurried morning, since he owns so many different cars, with all those different identical keys, 3 spaces to park them in, it sometimes takes as long as 2 hours for him to figure out which car is his, and which car keys fit which car, and which car he's going to take in the morning. This can lead to embarrassing experiences. One day, Dad had neither the patience nor the time to figure out which key went where, so he decided to take, forgive me, public transportation. He arrived at the incline, prepared to ride into town, when he realized he didn't have the correct chain. Stop wincing. What's a poor man to do? Well, with no other alternatives, he had to beg for the correct change. Upon receiving that, he finally rode the incline down, caught the bus into town, and history had been made. Now, Rick doesn't know this, but we hid a camera in his office, and we were able to capture him during a typical day. It's now 8:30 in the morning, and Rick has arrived in his office. With a few spare moments for himself, he can relax and see how the market is doing. If you ever need advice in investing, take my father's. He gives excellent advice and makes money for everyone, of course, except himself. Well, let's see what's brewing today. Today, there appears to be some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the market's up for the 5th consecutive week. The bad news is that each and every one of his stocks are down for the 7th consecutive week. Well, at 9:30, Amy finally strolls in, and the workday can begin. Can't start without Amy. The day, of course, begins with the telephone. Many of you probably wonder what Rick does while he talks to you. With the conference box transmitter strategically placed, he is free to play with any one of his numerous office toys. During this phone call, he contemplates an important decision. A full morning's work, and it's getting close to lunchtime. At 11:35, the conference begins on where to eat. At noon, the conference finally ends. It is resolved. I'm going to get a haircut, Amy. In the meantime, I'd like you to do something for me. I'm running out of my Fruit of the Looms. Please pick me up 2 packs, and I'll meet you at the William Penn for lunch in 25 minutes. Lunch is finally completed, and it's back to work by 1. Upon arrival, Dad receives an urgent phone call. The pressure mounts. As he ponders this important offer. And finally, the decision has been made. He is elated with his tremendous deal. Amy, it's Irv. We've got a 2 o'clock tee-off time. Now it's off to the elevators, but first a pit stop in the John. Now, it's commonly known that Rick sort of underdresses for the steel building. In fact, he was once asked in an elevator if his boss minds that he doesn't wear a tie to work. Well, anyway, Dad finishes up in the John, and as he's walking out, an executive takes one look at him, stops him, and tells him that there's toilet paper to be replaced in the 3rd stall. So that slows him down a little bit. He gets into his car and begins his 20-minute drive to the club. He starts daydreaming about days gone by, the times that he and his dad had those talks, and how well he listened and took advice. And then there was a time in his bar mitzvah, the junction of time when a boy becomes a man, that he just couldn't pay attention. Isn't that a shame? He remembers the time, I'll bet, that he was in the army, and he wanted a convertible. So he and his buddies bought a car for some $20 and cut the roof off. Now there's an ingenious guy. And then there's the memories of the time when he actually went into the water instead of walking around it. Well, he finally arrives at the club, and standing on the first tee, the cool September breeze gets him thinking of the warmer days in Florida. After his first tee shot, he realizes that he'd rather be goofing off with his friends on his boat in Florida than duck hooking on the first tee at the golf course in Pittsburgh. Well, after an hour, they finally finish the second hole. Another 3 hours, and they finish 18. Isn't that about right time, Irv? And Dad smiles after another satisfying round of golf with Irv. He enjoys playing so much golf, in fact, that Rick has often mentioned that when he dies, he hopes to be reincarnated as Maury Berger's business partner, Irv. At 6 o'clock, being the devoted family man he is, he drives to McKeesport for New Year's dinner. He wants to have the family over at his apartment this year, but we couldn't because we only had 3 dinner forks. Well, the family's together again. Tonight, everybody is happy. A few drinks, right, Wayne? Then a few prayers. And the only thing Uncle Bob is worried about is when we're going to eat. Of course, now we have to eat quickly because really the only reason we gather together is to play cards. Dinner's finally finished, but Rick hasn't yet had his fix, as he calls it. A sweet a day keeps a sweet tooth at bay. It's his motto. Cards are fun, but it's a long and laborious task. With all the confusion at the Berkowitz residence, 10 kids running around, dogs barking, not to mention the stories of who's sick, which doctor's the best, being repeated 4, 5, 6 times. I don't know, we lose count after a while. It's by the time that's over, it's 9 o'clock before Rick loses enough money and literally grabs Phyllis to go home. The ride home is a quiet one. Just some talk about Sunday's Steeler game against the Cleveland Browns. How many tickets do we have? Who needs extras? Is Dave Schlesinger going to be there? Who's bringing the vans? Who's buying the beer? That's the important question, right? Well, he finally arrives home. He walks into his apartment only to be greeted by his 4-legged friend, Clyde. He asks Clyde if he is hungry, and of course he gets a resounding yes. Now it's getting late, so not wanting to feed Clyde anything too heavy, he prepares a simple meal, a Spanish omelet, with a side order. Of course, the omelet is served with the usual toast and orange marmalade. Can't forget the toast and orange marmalade. Well, it's getting late, and it appears that another day has successfully been completed. Another anniversary day with Phyllis, huh, Dad? By the way, Rick counts his days with Phyllis like an inmate counts the days of his 20-year sentence. By the way, Dad, what day anniversary is this for you and Phil? 240. 240? How many hours? Minutes? Seconds? 10 hours. Okay. That's good. He keeps track. He's pretty up on that. Well, as he slowly sinks to the floor and falls into a deep sleep, the CBS News is also winding down. And that's the way it is. A typical day in the life of Rick Odle. So we wish a happy birthday to you, the best dad we ever had. And we want you to know that it's from a group of people that you seem to have a little bit of problem getting their name straight. So we want to get this all settled once and for all. This picture here, now this is Phyllis. This is not Deb, Joyce, Phil. This is not Deb, Larry, Phil. This is Phil. This is a picture of Larry. This is not Dave Larry. This is not Dave Deb Larry or even Dave Clyde Larry. This is just plain Larry. And this, of course, is you. And you'll notice the obvious resemblance between you and your clone. Between you and your clone. But please remember, there's always one way to tell you two apart. Your ass is a gumball. Whoever said you can't get no good father these days? I don't know. Happy birthday, Dad. Happy birthday from all of us. We love you. And remember, if you're really mad about this, it's all Phyllis's fault. How about it for Debby, Larry, David, and Ricky? Isn't that fantastic? I really didn't know you guys loved your father that much. Isn't that super? Ricky without a crew cut. Oh, look at those legs, my God. Okay, fellas, stop blushing. We know you.